I hesitate when people just say cancer is a gift and stop there, because sometimes it's a really big lump of coal. My name is Yvonne Block, and I am 48 years old, and I was diagnosed when I was 46 years old with rectal cancer. My treatment included continuous infusion chemotherapy, radiation at the same time, surgery after that, and then some post-surgery chemotherapy. The first time someone said cancer to me, I wanted to get in the car and go for a drive, just to get out of the city and just drive and be in the country where life and death and everything is natural. So that was my instinct, was to get in the car and go. I think my friend was in another mode, which was, you know, the responsible thing to do is to go to your house and start calling your family and you need to call your mom and you need to call your siblings and start calling your friends. So it sort of turned into a task, a thing that I needed to get done before I could do what I felt like I needed to do. And I never did actually go out and take that drive in the country, at least not for a couple of months. But it's so easy when you get a diagnosis to ignore, like, what do I need right now? I've just been told I have cancer. And yeah, that's going to be hard on my family and friends, and it's really hard on them. But what do I need right now? And my gut instinct was get out of the city. And if I were to advise somebody else, I'd say follow your gut instinct. Now, it didn't do me any harm. And of course, my family and friends wanted to know, but what would the difference be if you made those phone calls the next day or later in the day? I think what I would say to other people is be careful on the thing of telling people and how you do it, that you care for yourself, think about what you need, and care for the others too. It's very difficult. I guess I had questions about, and I asked them, quality of life. Like, you know, I thought about, am I going to have 2 years of suffering and then I'm going to die at the end of that? And I could hear the obituaries going through my head in the paper, you know, died after a 2-year struggle or a 2-year battle or whatever, and I thought, I don't want that obituary. That's what was in my head. So I wanted to know that if I was going to go through all of that, I would have some good quality of life, or there was a good chance that I would. So I asked, how long would I have of feeling pretty good if I didn't do treatment? I mean, they can't really answer that, but the doctor that I asked said, I can't tell you, you'll be here in 6 months. So I was sitting with that. You know, it is such a crisis when you're told you have cancer and your family and friends are in such a crisis. You get into falling into the, I'm not saying necessarily in a bad way, but you start rushing from here to here to here to here, and you just start doing things. Maybe you'd do them differently if you weren't in crisis. I don't know. And you also are really feeling like your family and friends want you to do everything you can to stick around. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd had more time, if I'd have made a different decision. I can't say. I remember a friend saying to me one day when I was really upset, saying, you aren't cancer, you know, because really in the first month, you can't think of anything else. You aren't cancer. I remember saying, yes, I am. Right now I am. That's all I am right now, because that's my whole world. It doesn't carry on that way, but that is, for me, that was the feeling in the first couple of months. What else is there for me? I know there's a whole world for everyone else, but for me, you know, they're going to lose one person. I'm going to lose all of them. I felt pretty quickly pretty sick, and not in a way that somebody could have described to me first. It's kind of, once the amounts were built up in me and the radiation was making me feel unwell, I felt like I was dying. And I think because chemotherapy is killing the fast-growing cells, there's something about it that just feels death-like. The thing is, I wasn't. I felt like I was, and that's a terrible feeling, and that's a feeling you can't, even if somebody really describes it to you, you can't really be prepared for. Shortly after chemo ends, I felt like probably within 24 hours when I would have a break, I would start feeling okay. So it was something, like a lot of things in cancer, it will pass. It's a terrible phase, but it will pass. I think because I worked in mental health and I'm so aware of stigma, I've been pretty straight and direct about the kind of cancer I have with anyone who asks, or even if they don't. With rectal cancer, I think from day one there's a stigma to get through. There's some really hard things, and then with rectal cancer, most people end up with a colostomy, which I did. And initially I thought that's the worst part of all of this, and you know, I can't, you know, Farrah Fawcett was diagnosed sort of around the same time, and of course all these articles that say, well, of course she's not getting a colostomy, she's a beautiful woman, and all these things were coming out kind of around the same time. And it's really hard at the beginning. It's harder than I thought. The surgery is difficult, the recovery is difficult, managing a colostomy is difficult. I would have loved to have one person standing at the end of my bed who had one, just standing and wearing clothes and saying they were going to do something normal, because I thought, oh, like normal life is over. But that turns out to not be, it's a big deal. I still feel like it's a big deal. It's been 1.5 years that I've had a colostomy, but I can do the same things that anyone else would do if I'm feeling well enough, just like anybody else. In the end, it's not as big an adjustment as the adjustment to living with the fact that you've had cancer and you could recur. Life became for me so precious that living with a colostomy, I'm sure I complain once sometimes, but it kind of pales, and it is the thing that saves our lives if you have rectal cancer. I would rather have my life now, even though I had a good life, I had a great life. I would rather be who I am now and have my life now than who I was in the life I had before cancer, and it was fine. I felt like that from day one. I remember saying on day one, now I know what it's like to be told you have cancer. Because we all guess and we all try to empathize, but you don't know until someone tells you. So for me from day one, I thought, wow. And every day, I thought, wow, what a lesson. I was terrible some days, and I was whiny some days, and angry some days, but I don't think I ever thought, oh, I'm not learning a ton from this. And it's not that kind of learning you can get from a book or going to school. It's just people. And for me, learning how to be with a sick person by being the sick person, being the really vulnerable person, just everything. I felt like I was just learning. And also suffering at the same time. I mean, that's how we get to another place, but ooh, if only there was another way. That's why I hate to say gift. I love all the lessons I learned. I'd rather be here. Could I not have learned it another way? And I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. But I wouldn't undo it. I wouldn't undo it and go back to life before cancer.